Yassas, and welcome to Greek News Global. I'm John Mangos. In this bulletin, Chinese president invokes Thucydides to Trump. Turkish media claiming half of Crete. Greece to repay debts earlier than expected. And Metallica goes Greek with a metal version of Zorba. We begin our bulletin in Beijing, where Chinese President Xi Jinping has invoked ancient Greek historian Thucydides during his address to US President Donald Trump. Speaking as part of the high-stakes talks with his US counterpart, President Xi warned of the so-called Thucydides trap, the theory that conflict becomes likely when a rising power challenges an established one. Referencing the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta nearly 2,500 years ago, Xi questioned whether China and the United States could avoid repeating history and instead work together to stabilize the world.
Dear President Trump, it is a great pleasure to meet with you here in Beijing. This is your second visit to China in 9 years. Our meeting today is drawing worldwide attention. At present, the transformation not seen in a century is accelerating across the globe, and the international situation is fluid and turbulent. The world has come to another crossroads. Can China and the United States overcome the so-called Thucydides trap and create a new paradigm of major country relations? Can we meet global challenges together and provide greater stability for the world?
The summit comes amid growing tensions over trade, artificial intelligence, Iran and Taiwan, with analysts describing the meeting as one of the most consequential between the two powers in years. Greece has qualified for the grand final of the Eurovision Song Contest 2026 after Akilas's performance of Ferto secured a place in the top 10 during the first semi-final in Vienna. Akilas was the first act announced as a qualifier from the 15-country semi-final, although results were revealed in random order. Other countries progressing to the final include Moldova, Sweden, Belgium, Finland, Israel, Serbia, Croatia, Lithuania and Poland. The theatrical performance of Ferto drew strong reactions from audiences and media throughout Eurovision week, with international outlets highlighting the staging, multilingual lyrics and contemporary visual style. Commentators have compared Greece's momentum this year with some of the country's strongest Eurovision eras, including Helena Paparizou's 2005 winning performance of My Number One. British holidaymakers heading to Greece this summer are being assured they won't face lengthy border delays despite ongoing complaints of queues at several Greek airports. Greek Tourism Minister Olga Kefalogianni says biometric checks for British visitors have been suspended to prevent travellers being burdened by bureaucracy under the European Union's new entry-exit system. Greece says the system is operating successfully, but paused the checks earlier this year after severe congestion at Corfu Airport. Long queues have also been reported on Zakynthos and Rhodes. The European Commission says it's now in contact with Greece to clarify the arrangement, as EU rules allow only temporary suspensions during overcrowding, not blanket exemptions. Meanwhile, Portugal and Italy say they'll continue full biometric checks for British travellers. Fresh tensions between Greece and Turkey have erupted after inflammatory comments aired on Turkish television claimed that 3/4 of Crete should belong to Turkey. Turkish broadcaster Haber Global reportedly warned of possible naval clashes with Greece later this year, with one commentator even suggesting a patrol boat may have to be sunk if necessary. The remarks come amid reports Ankara is preparing legislation to expand maritime claims in parts of the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean, including disputes linked to energy projects, subsea cables and shipping corridors. The claims over Crete and eastern Aegean islands have been widely rejected under modern international law, but the rhetoric is expected to further inflame tensions between the two NATO allies. Greece will proceed with the early repayment of €6.9 billion in debt next month, targeting part of the first bailout loans it received from European countries during the financial crisis. Minister of National Economy and Finance, Kyriakos Pierrakakis, says the repayment would further strengthen the country's debt reduction strategy. The minister also praised the team at the Greek Public Debt Management Agency, describing them as the silent heroes of Greece's economic recovery. Separately, the agency announced Greece had secured a significant legal victory at the English High Court in a case involving GDP-linked securities issued during the country's 2012 debt restructuring. In a statement, the agency said the court upheld Greece's contractual right to repurchase the GDP-linked securities and confirmed that the buyback price had been correctly calculated under the contractual pricing mechanism. Greek authorities are intensifying investigations after an explosive-laden naval drone was discovered in a cave on the island of Lefkada. Defence Minister Nikos Dendias says the unmanned device likely originated from a foreign state, although officials have stopped short of naming a country. The drone, believed to resemble a Ukrainian-made Magura V3, was reportedly carrying up to 100 kilograms of explosives when it was found by a fisherman inside a seaside cave last week. Bomb disposal teams later detonated the device at sea. Opposition parties have accused the Greek government of being unprepared for the growing threat posed by long-range maritime drones, amid fears Greece could become entangled in the wider war linked to Russia and Ukraine. The incident comes at a time where Greece is negotiating with Ukraine on the joint development of naval drones. Those negotiations between Greece and Ukraine to jointly produce maritime drones in Greece have stalled over reported demands from Kyiv for veto power over how the systems would be used by the Greek military. The proposed deal, first discussed by Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, would see Ukrainian-designed unmanned surface vessels built at Greek shipyards. Greek media reports say Ukraine wants assurances the drones would not be deployed against Turkish naval forces, reflecting Ankara's strategic importance to Kyiv during the war with Russia. Athens has reportedly rejected the condition, insisting sovereign military assets cannot operate under foreign restrictions, particularly during wartime. Despite the dispute, talks are continuing, with Greek military teams already having conducted technical evaluations of the program. The Greek-owned oil tanker Agios Fanourios has reportedly been forced to reverse course in the Gulf of Oman amid escalating tensions surrounding maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. According to multiple shipping and media reports, the vessel had been transporting Iraqi crude oil bound for Vietnam after departing Iraq's Al-Basra terminal. The tanker had successfully passed through the Strait of Hormuz using a route authorised by Iranian authorities and travelled via officially declared shipping lanes, according to Iranian media. But ship tracking data later showed the vessel abruptly changing course near the Gulf of Oman before eventually turning back, amid heightened naval tensions involving the United States and Iran. Reports linking the manoeuvre directly to intervention by the US Navy have circulated online, although no official confirmation has been issued by US officials. The incident comes amid an increasingly volatile security environment in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most strategically important oil transit choke points. Tanker movements through the region have slowed significantly in recent weeks following Iranian threats against vessels operating without Tehran's approval and increased US naval activity connected to enforcement measures targeting Iranian ports. A dispute over language has erupted inside the Orthodox world after Istanbul's Bulgarian Orthodox community banned Greek language services in its churches in Indian, Turkey. The move follows tensions during St George's Day celebrations when Greek clergy linked to the Ecumenical Patriarchate reportedly attempted to conduct the liturgy in Greek at an historic Bulgarian church. Bulgarian worshippers objected, arguing services in Bulgarian churches should be held in Bulgarian, not a language many in the congregation do not understand. Community leaders have now suspended all formal services at the churches until the matter is resolved, describing the issue as one of language, culture and identity. The incident follows calls from Archbishop Makarios of Australia earlier this month for church services in Australia to be conducted only in Greek. Still in Turkey, and the Greek Orthodox Halki Seminary is moving closer to a major symbolic milestone, as church officials expect to inaugurate its renovated building complex in September. But the historic theological school, which has remained closed since 1971, is not currently scheduled to resume classes. Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew raised hopes this week when he told donors in Athens that he remained optimistic about the future of the seminary, one of the most important institutions in the Orthodox world. Halki is an island in the Sea of Marmara, near Istanbul. The future of the Greek Orthodox Halki Seminary has remained a sensitive issue for decades. Bartholomew, the spiritual leader of about 260 million Orthodox Christians worldwide, has repeatedly urged Ankara to allow the school to resume operations. The issue gained renewed attention when Bartholomew met US President Donald Trump. Trump pledged support for efforts to resolve the matter, raising hopes the long-running deadlock could eventually end. Significant because the theological school has trained generations of Orthodox clergy and church leaders. There's growing concern in Greece over accidents involving electric scooters following two recent incidents, the death of a 13-year-old boy in Ilia and the severe injury of a 40-year-old man in Heraklion. The Minister for Citizen Protection, Michalis Chrysochoidis, stated that electric scooters are very dangerous and announced upcoming legislative action. He has voiced strong reservations regarding their safety, particularly when operated by minors. He said, "It's my personal view that these should not be in circulation." He also highlighted the severe risks they pose on major thoroughfares. The minister said the new legislation being drafted would ban minors from using e-scooters on public roads. Under the proposed regulations, their use would be restricted to pedestrian zones and public squares. Hollywood director Christopher Nolan's upcoming film, The Odyssey, is again in the headlines, with fans questioning whether some of the armour looks more medieval than ancient Greek. The latest trailer, released this week, shows Matt Damon as Odysseus battling through the mythic world of Homer's epic, complete with monsters, giant sea voyagers and the Cyclops. But online discussion quickly shifted to what viewers described as heavy-plated armour, more commonly linked to the late medieval Europe than the Bronze Age Greece. Historians and fans pointed out that ancient Greek warriors traditionally wore bronze helmets, shields and cuirasses, not full plate armour. Others argue Nolan has artistic licence, given the Odyssey is rooted in mythology rather than strict historical fact. The film, also starring Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson, is shaping up as one of Nolan's most ambitious productions yet. And staying on Nolan's Odyssey, there are rumours that transgender actor Elliot Page has been cast as the legendary Greek warrior Achilles. While Page has officially joined the film's star-studded cast, the studio has not confirmed which character he will play, but social media speculation linking Page to Achilles has already divided audiences, with some praising Nolan's willingness to challenge traditional interpretations of Greek mythology, while others question whether the casting fits the iconic Homeric hero. The scrutiny follows earlier concerns about casting for Nolan's epic, most notably the casting of Zendaya as Athena. To sporting news now, and AEK Athens are once again champions of Greece after sealing the 2025-26 Super League title in emphatic fashion. The Athens Giants capped off a dominant campaign to reclaim domestic supremacy and send their supporters into celebration across the capital. Club officials praised the squad's consistency, resilience and attacking football throughout the season. The triumph adds another historic chapter to one of Greece's most decorated clubs, while attention now turns to European competition next season. Fans gathered late into the night outside the OPAP Arena, waving yellow and black flags and singing club anthems as celebrations swept through the city. Thousands of PAOK supporters have flooded the streets of Thessaloniki as the club celebrated 100 years since its founding. The centenary celebrations lit up the city with flares, fireworks and chants, echoing through the night as fans honoured one of Greece's most passionate football institutions. Founded in 1926 by Greek refugees from Constantinople, PAOK has become deeply tied to the identity and history of northern Greece. Supporters gathered at exactly 7:26, that's 1926 in 24-hour time, symbolising the club's founding year, in an emotional tribute to generations of players, fans and families connected to the black and white club. Greek world arm wrestling champion Yorgos Haralambopoulos has once again claimed European gold, winning the Grandmasters plus 100 kilogram right-hand division in dramatic fashion. Haralambopoulos was forced to prove his dominance on 3 separate occasions in the final after repeated protests and appeals from his opponent's camp. But Haralambopoulos answered every restart with another emphatic victory, leaving no doubt over the result. The most emotional moment came during the medal ceremony, when the champion broke down in tears as the Greek national anthem played through the arena. His management says the victory was not just about strength, but character, describing Haralambopoulos as an athlete who competes with his entire soul for Greece. South Melbourne FC have finished their Leaders Group campaign unbeaten following an entertaining 4-2 victory over Bulla FC at Eden Park. Having secured a place in the semi-finals, some of the pressure was taken off the Australian outfit, but for Bulla there remained a chance to avoid the semi-final playoff and advance directly to the Final Four. South Melbourne made 6 changes to their starting lineup from the previous match, while Bulla FC made 7. And we leave you with some unusually heavy music, with legendary band Metallica stunning Athens with a rendition of Zorba's Dance by iconic Greek composer Mikis Theodorakis. Tens of thousands packed Athens Olympic Stadium as the heavy metal giants launched the European leg of their M72 World Tour with a spectacular 360-degree stage production. Fans erupted as the band performed decades of hits before surprising the crowd with the famous melody from Zorba the Greek, drawing huge cheers from across the arena. The band also paid tribute to Greek rock music with a performance of Then Choras Puthena by legendary group Tripes, capping off what many fans are calling one of the most memorable concerts ever staged in Greece. And that's it for this edition of Greek News Global, recorded on the 14th of May 2026. I'm John Mangos. Gya σας και να είστε καλά.